जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीचन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीचन
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtadhar Satashi Shimar Srila Ape Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nasta Prayeshu Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttamash Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. I continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 27, entitled Attack by Chandravega on the city of Puranjana. Chandravega. Text number 21. Kadachit attamanasa Brahmalokan makim gatyam Vavre prihat vratam mamtu Janati kama mohita Kadachit atamanasa Brahmalokan mahim gatam Vavre prihat vratam mamtu Janati kama mohita Kadachit atamanasa Brahmalokan mahim gatam Vavre prihat vratam mamtu Janati kama mohita. Ladies.
Kadachit Atmanasa Brahmalokan mahim gatam Vavre brihat vratam mamtu Janati kama mohita Kadachit Atmanasa Brahmalokan mahim gatam Vavre brihat vratam mamtu Janati kama mohita. Word to word translation. Kadachit, once upon a time. Atamana, traveling. Sa, she. Brahmalokat, from Brahmaloka, the highest planet. Mahim, on the earth. Gatam, having come. Vavre, she proposed. Brihat Vratam, about brahmachari. Mam, unto me. To them. Janati, knowing. Kama, Kama Mohita, being illusioned by lust. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When I once came to this earth from Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system, the daughter of time, wandering over the universe met me. Knowing me to be an avowed brahmachari, she became lusty and proposed that I accept her. Purport. The great sage Narada Muni was a Naishtika brahmachari. That is, he never had sex life. He was consequently an evergreen youth. Old age chara could not attack him. The invalidity of old age can overcome an ordinary man, but Narada Muni was different. Taking Narada Muni to be an ordinary man, the daughter of time confronted him with her lusty desires. It requires great strength to resist a woman's attraction. It is difficult for old men, and what to speak of young. Those who live as brahmacharis must follow in the footsteps of great sage Narada Muni, who never accepted the proposals of chara. Those who are too much sexually addicted become victims of chara, and very soon their lifespan is shortened. Without utilizing the human form of life for Krishna consciousness, the victims of chara die very soon in this world. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Vatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Zakrachatam Sahakana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Zavadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Haripriya. Vanchakalpadarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you for coming, and please pray that I can say something that will help us to understand this subject matter, and that will help us to become more Krishna conscious. This verse is spoken by Narada Muni. Maybe we can repeat together. Translation. When I once came to this earth from Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system, the daughter of time, wandering over the universe, met me. Knowing me to be an avowed brahmachari, she became lusty and proposed that I accept her. The word used in this verse is Brihat Vrata. Prabhupada translates as brahmachari. I remember one time Chaitanya Goswami came to visit us at Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he explained, he was telling the story of Bhishma Dev, and he is one of his names is also Brihat Vrata. Brihat Vrata means great vow. Brihat means great, like Brihat Mridanga, book distribution. And Vrata means a vow. And Brahmacharya is this great vow, which is very difficult. It's opposing the going against the grain of the material conditioning of all living entities, which is to procreate. And brahmachari is rejecting this this normal process of material existence. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a Manu Samhita and then there's a Srimad Bhagavatam. The Manu Samhita is giving many injunctions for material society, for society in general. What could be considered sub-religious principles, how to behave in this world in order to not go, at least not go down to lower forms of life or into hellish conditions. So this is what the Manu Samhita gives, but Srimad Bhagavatam has a different approach, because in Srimad Bhagavatam the goal is different. The ultimate goal of all the Vedic scriptures is ultimately to come to the lotus feet of Krishna, but sometimes these processes seem to have a very different goal, different types of Vedic religious processes, but ultimately they are just they're just different paths to reach the ultimate goal of life. And the Manu Samhita says one should go through the Varnashram system: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, and then if one goes through these different stages, one gradually becomes purified, and one attains perfection from a material point of view. For most people who will come in contact with spirituality, this would not be considered material to become a sannyasi, but actually sannyas is a material concept. But the perfection of sannyas and the material concept is to become detached from the material world. So one achieves Brahma Bhuta stage. One is detached materially. Then what needs to come is the spiritual aspect. And that is what Srimad Bhagavatam is emphasizing. It's actually, from the very beginning, rejecting all other religious principles, not saying that they have no value, but they are secondary. Any religious principles are secondary principles. So the Varnashram system is also a secondary to Krishna consciousness. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is many times promoting the idea that you don't have to go into family life, and you can just focus on Krishna and you achieve perfection, bypassing the whole process of gradual development. So the Bhakti Yoga process is sometimes explained as an elevator, that you don't have to go through all the different steps. You can directly go to Krishna, but the process of Krishna consciousness requires very much requires full attention. Sometimes yogis come to the West, yoga gurus, and they teach some yoga, and they say do a little bit of practice every day. So we know that Hatha Yoga it's a bona fide process. It's a part of the yoga system. But this, if you do 10 minutes or 15 minutes of whatever practice, then whatever time is remaining is you're engaging in material activities, most likely. So, and then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the goal of the impersonalist and the goal of the personalist is ultimately the same, but for the impersonalist it's taking a little bit longer. So in the same way, for people who engage in focus on different aspects of yoga or different aspects of Vedic culture in general, but do not prioritize the practice of Krishna consciousness, it takes much more. It takes more time, at least. And for most devotees, even I remember one time I was at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, and one new bhakta joined, and then he was reading. He started to read the books, and then he was thinking, well, if we just follow very strictly Krishna consciousness, then there is no need to get entangled in the material world. No need to get into family life. And I said, okay, stay for a few years. And he was very sincere. He was a very sincere devotee, and he was doing everything properly. I don't see any mistake. Of course, we all do unknowingly make mistakes in our devotional service. We all unknowingly make offenses, even if we manage not to do knowingly, which is already very high. I was going to say. Anyway, along the line, he changed ashram, and he entered Grihastha ashram. Now he's living somewhere in Europe in a community, devotee community. And it's just an example. It's just an example for me that these the material condition is not really deciding factor for one's sincerity in Krishna consciousness. One may be in any condition of life. One may be in any ashram or in any varna. We know the story of Narad Muni visiting the cobbler. Cobbler is a man who is fixing shoes and is considered a low class job, because you have to work with leather. Sometimes you have to go and take the skin off from dead animals, which is very unclean thing to do. Touching dead animal, you considered contaminated. But this story is elucidating that the external condition didn't matter. This cobbler was always chanting names of Krishna, and Narada Muni informed him that at the end of this life he will get the perfection, he will get the darshan, attain the darshan of Lord Narayan, who is his Ishtadev. And on the other hand, we had the Brahmana, who was very proud of his ritualistic activities, and as a result did not achieve the mercy of Krishna. So that's one aspect. There's two aspects. One is the Bhagavatam is giving concession to devotees to just remain in brahmachari ashram, if they have the capacity to do so. The other thing is that one may be in any one of the social orders, any one of the spiritual orders of the Varnashram system, and be on any stage of spiritual advancement. Bhishma Dev was a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas, they're not obliged to enter the Vanaprastha or Sannyas ashram. For Kshatriyas there is the Brahmachari ashram, and then Grihastha ashram, and that's it. The Vanaprastha also, But for Bhishma Dev, due to some circumstances, he made this vow to remain a brahmachari for the rest of his life, which is unusual. Basically taking sannyas, like sannyas. Unusual for Kshatriyas. And that's why he was called Brihadrata, one who has taken a dreadful vow, very great vow. The four Kumaras, also they are examples of devotees, though they were not devotees initially. That's another thing to understand, that not only devotees practice celibacy, especially the Mayavadis are actually very strict about this. From my understanding, Mayavadis and Brahmavadis. From my understanding, their general understanding is that you cannot achieve perfection unless you become a sannyasi. If you don't take sannyas, you have to take birth again. Which is because Krishna is not really the factor there. Krishna is not the main factor for us, Krishna is the main factor. If somehow or other you manage to please Krishna by pleasing the spiritual master, then all the other considerations are not important. Just like if somehow or other you get the blessings of the king or the Bundesrat, if somehow or other they make some exceptions and they excuse you for some crime which you may have committed, then all other considerations of the law don't apply anymore. But usually the king or the government, they made the laws, so they will generally only be pleased if you follow the law. And the only time when they would excuse someone not to strictly follow the law is if they do some very special service, if they sincerely, if they dedicate their lives. But then we also, we cannot take this for granted also, that we just serve Krishna and we can just do whatever we want. Srila Prabhupada is giving this example that the soldier is coming back from the war and he's getting a gold medal because he has killed so many people. But then next day he goes to his neighbor or somewhere and kills somebody, immediately he's going to jail. And what's the difference? That before he was acting on behalf of the government, he was authorized, but then he's acting by his own whim, and he's punished immediately. So that is teaching us a lesson that any kind of exceptions that we make are excused or authorized if they are in line with the spiritual master in his instructions. Then another point mentioned here is that Narada Muni was not, because he was not affected by time. Srila Prabhupada says because he was a brahmachari, he was not affected by old age. And then he's also saying he's not affected because he's not an ordinary person. So there's two things. Obviously Narada Muni is fully spiritual personality, and therefore he's not affected by time, so he can live forever. And the other thing is the practice of brahmacharya does actually have allow one to keep one's youth much longer, probably not forever, except for if you have powers like the 4 Kumaras, who remained 5-year-old boys forever. But ultimately everybody gets old. But this can also be seen in another way, that one is not affected by old age, in the sense that if one Prabhupada says if one is practicing brahmacharya perfectly, then he's already 50% achieved perfection. Why? Because brahmacharya is the kind of the perfection of material detachment, the consciousness, I believe, the consciousness of celibacy, the consciousness of brahmacharya. It means if one achieves perfection, then one is kind of on a liberated platform. Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu was quoting the letter of Bhakti Tirtha Swami, right? He was visualizing a conversation with Srila Prabhupada. After leaving the body, we may have the fortune to meet Srila Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada would ask, "So what did you do for me? What did you do for me?" And then he was telling so many things. Oh, I was distributing books, I opened these temples, I did all of this, worshipped the deities, gave lectures, so many things. And he kept, Srila Prabhupada in this conversation kept asking, "But did you give up sex life?" Right? So, so that's how did I come to this? Yeah, so that's the ultimate question of whether we have become renounced generally. But then, of course, there's subtle attachments also to worship, adoration, distinction, which are actually all manifestations of lust, and can be more difficult to detect, because when we're very much connected with the mind, it can, like, unless we look into a mirror, we cannot see our face. In the same way, it can be difficult to see our own mind unless we take a distance. We learn to distance ourselves from our mind. So it's a little roller coaster lecture. We'll end here. Please add something, some questions and comments. Shri Chakna Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Matsya Devi. Titanic.
Thank you for your lecture. I was wondering what it really means to be a brahmachari or be in this section, because we have to prepare ourselves, right, for the rest of our life and also for the moment. And could you elaborate about this, what it really means to stay in this ashram? Because sometimes we're just doing something and
we should probably ask Krishna Prema Rupa. But I mean, there's one thing we mentioned, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is promoting the idea that it's good to remain brahmachari for whole life if possible, right? But then on the other hand, brahmacharya is also a training for young devotees. And part of this should definitely be to learn how the material world works also. But for a student, even in the material world, students generally learn a lot of gyan, a lot of information, read a lot of books, and realization of that knowledge often comes later. So, in terms of, and that's the reason why, in general, it's recommended to go through these different ashrams, because for most of the time it's not enough if we have information about something. Srila Prabhupada is saying that there's different types of people who learn, or different levels of learning. One is you hear something, oral reception, somebody's telling you don't smoke cigarettes. You say, okay, I will not do it, it's bad. Another person may say, he may see another person doing it and become very sick, and say, okay, I don't want this. And then you experience yourself, even if this is not enough, you may think, okay, maybe to me it will not happen. And then you try, and you become sick, and then okay, it's not good. But most of the time it's then too late already. I had one great uncle, like my grandmother's or my grandmother's sister's husband or something like that. He was very much addicted to smoking, and his lung became really bad, and one day he had to go to hospital. And before he left home, they picked him up with the thing. He said, if I come out from there, I will stop. I promise, I will never smoke again. But he didn't come out. It was too late. So that's why, smoking is, of course, we don't want to compare to the Grihastha ashram, but the Grihastha ashram is more involved in the material activities, and if one enters this, let's say, if one enters family life, then without due preparation, then one will not come out anymore. No chance. And so that's what brahmachari training is supposed to give, that you have all the knowledge and also increase spiritual practice. While we live in the temple, we have more facility for sadhana and for all kinds of spiritual practices, that we can remain sober when we become more entangled in the material world. And then the Grihastha ashram is supposed to give one the realization of the knowledge that, oh, okay, this is how the material world works, I've seen it, and then you can move on. Either go through the vanaprastha or sannyasa or whatever, directly go back to Godhead. So maybe Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu would like to add something. Of course, if somebody is intelligent enough to learn just by hearing or by reading, then you may be saved from a lot of hassle. But if you artificially, we also know that if we artificially try to go this path of Naishtika brahmachari, then it may come out, sometimes it comes out in a different way, unhealthy manner, in not just in Krishna consciousness, but in any kind of spiritual practitioners. Any other questions? Comments?
Hi Krishna. I just had a few thoughts to share, perhaps along this line, and especially in relation to this question. The word brahmacharya or brahmachari, if you really look at it, it means chari, to reside or to surround, and brahma means the one who resides in Brahma. So the brahmacharya ashram is not just about celibacy or a certain color, but it's about residing in Brahma. And yesterday I was reading this conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatana Goswami from the Madhya Leela, where Lord Chaitanya instructs Sanatana Goswami to write the Vaishnava Smriti. And Lord Chaitanya says that it is this practice of bhakti which leads to a certain kind of behavior, and that becomes the ornament of a devotee. So qualities like celibacy, discipline, these are natural side effects, you could say, positive side effects of properly practicing bhakti. And I was also thinking how in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned, Grihe thako bhane thako shada hari bole dako. So whether you reside at home or you reside in the forest, the moot point is always chant the name of Hari. So of course, I think it was Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu many weeks ago or many months ago in a class mentioned how Varnashrama is like the shell of a walnut, and then the crux is, the process of bhakti. So similarly, these ashrams are a via medium to reach the ultimate practice of to be forever engaged in devotional service and chanting of the holy name. And I was also thinking of this one point of how there are these 4 aphorisms that Prabhupada gave us, and one of them is purity is the force. So the whole point of being in any ashram is to inculcate purity, whether you are a brahmachari. I mean, if you are a brahmachari and you're so disturbed that your thoughts are impure and you cannot preach, because preaching is the essence, then what's the point? So in whatever we do in Krishna consciousness, regardless of which designation we are of, though if we follow the 4 aphorisms, purity is the force, utility is the principle, preaching is the essence, and books are the basis. I feel like it gives us a sense of direction, whether we are a brahmachari or a grihastha. So, and I also quite like the point you made of how this attachment to name, designation is actually an extended sex life in a way. It's actually an extension of our lust. So, I mean, of course, also personally, I'm also being introspective about this, of how we should not be so attached to being, a certain kind of designation, but really introspect. If what I'm doing is inculcating or fostering purity in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. Maybe I just mentioned any other questions? I had something on my mind which not kind of indirectly related also to the subject matter. In my youth, I'm still young, but I have like a certain affinity. Maybe I have a certain affinity to chemistry, ice cream making, mixing different things together. I always had this fascination. So this kind of brought me also a little bit to the. I was researching about different chemicals processes in the body, and the chemicals that make our body do things are hormones, right? Different hormones that induce certain mood or certain energy in the body. The body needs hormones, for example, to produce cells, new cells. Body needs hormone to give this passion to actually do something. If you, for example, if you test these things, right, on animals, if you deprive a living entity of certain hormones, testosterone, they just become lazy and they will not do anything. They will not even stand up to eat, actually. If that just desire to survive is it's all a process. The body is using these chemicals. So this is how the chemistry scientists, they see the body like this. Oh, it's just a machine with the chemicals. And of course, for us, we have an understanding that this is a subordinate. Yes, the body is a machine, but there is actually consciousness, the soul, in the body, deciding on the function of the body. But it's also useful for us to understand this to some extent, how this body is functioning with. It's just a process of chemicals. Sometimes it's useful to know that that this is not coming from the spiritual realm. Oh, now I feel like eating this and that. And these are actually, if you look in a certain way, these are all addictions. Actually, we're all addicted to these different chemicals. The only thing that happens if you add some other addictions, like caffeine or nicotine or something, you just add one more chemical that you need to satisfy. Oh, I need this, I need that. But then we have dopamine addiction. Dopamine is a hormone which one of the so-called happiness hormones. And dopamine is released when you achieve something, or if somebody gives you a present, like that. And today, in today's society, this has manifested through social media very much, where as soon as you get your likes or your comments and things, these are all like achievements. Ding ding, another achievement. And this is why the social media is so attractive to people, because it's actually releasing dopamine. So it's another chemical addiction. And the same thing applies to all these other hormones. So what it actually means from a chemistry point of view, if one becomes renounced, is one gives up these attachments to these chemicals. So I just thought it's an interesting way to look at it. That you may not be addicted to intoxication, but then there's these other intoxications, like craving for sugar, craving for dopamine, achievement, craving for ice cream. And another hormone is called oxytocin, I think, which it gives trust, and you feel at home, affection, like that. So this is what this is the hormone that Naistika Brahmachari has to renounce. Is the kind of chemical. this type of affection. But these things are all, these chemicals, processes, they still work within Krishna consciousness. One can feel very much sheltered if one is fully attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. One can feel very much sheltered, and then that manifests in the body also. So it's just saying that's how the body becomes spiritualized. Hare Krishna. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Sundar Jagannath.
Yeah.
It was verse 21 today.
Yes.
Krishna
Krishna